Welcome. It's October, which means we're doing the October workshop. I'm super, super fired up about this. It's one of my favorite subjects because I think this is a really incredibly important subject. Like no one, remember, we're trying to change the world here. And it's pretty hard to help people if they don't know you exist. And I'm pretty convinced that if they knew you existed and they knew what you did, there would be a line outside your door. And for some of you, there is a line outside your door. But the difference between a line outside your door and no line outside your door is largely a function of marketing. And so I feel like, and this was a switch for me probably 10 years ago, I started feeling like if I know the work that I do will change somebody's life, I have, and I use a crazy word for this, I have a sacred obligation to make sure people know about it. And in that vein, let me just tell you real quickly about the retreats. The reason I can pitch this so hard is because it's not about me, right? I'm so convinced that the mountains will provide the answers. And that if we put 13 other people, so if 12 of you plus my wife and I, if we put 13 other people around you, amazing things will happen. Okay, enough of that. So when I get stuck in my marketing efforts, I have spent 20 years being frustrated by trying to find somebody to help me. There's been one exception, which really ticks me off because the one person who's the exception is super busy. So Kendra Wright has been the only person I've been able to find. And she's made a massive difference in our business and the work we do. And I know she's made a massive difference in a bunch of advisors' lives. So what you're going to get today is a masterclass in how to think about marketing and then also like what to do, right? Like tactically what to actually do. So with that, Kendra, I'm so glad you're here and let's go.
All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys really quick. And I'm going to give you a couple tips on how to get the most out of our time together. So, as you're taking notes, as I go through and I'm covering a few things, I want you to think of two things. The first one is just, what are the action items that you want to take out of this? What do you want to implement from what I share? And then the second thing is just, your questions. The thing about this format that's very unique is you're going to have the recording and the slides later, but you're not going to have me. So I'm going to hang out here. I'd love to answer your questions. But having those action items and your questions, I think, are how you're going to get the most out of this time together. So let me give you a quick rundown of where we're headed today together. So the first part of this, I'm going to talk you through how to build a streamlined marketing strategy. Second, we're going to talk a little bit about marketing channels, and I'm going to give you a quick primer on what I would like to call marketing funnel basics. Then we're going to take a quick break. We're going to have a couple Q&As related to that first section. And then we're going to dive into the second part, which is how I write high converting copy for firms. I'm going to give you some really tactical and practical pieces there. And then at the end, I have this really cool tool that I built for all of you called the Advisor Copy Coach. And so you're going to be able to get, kind of coached by me using this free tool. It's really cool. Excited to share that with you. And then we're going to do some Q&A at the end.
Here's one. And if you're dying to have something answered, throw it in the chat too.
Okay.
But here's one. This was from Melissa. My biggest fear is releasing, and I'm not going to use the specific channel just so we don't over-index on it, but releasing something into the world. I know I should. I've taken classes on how to make great somethings. I've made them, but I don't think they're good enough. How do I address that?
I think the problem is you think you have a problem, but you're just facing the price of admission. Publishing content online is hard and scary. For me, what I've found most effective is to find something different to focus on. Instead of focusing on, these videos aren't good enough, I have to kind of return to why are we publishing these videos to begin with? Do you, like you want to build more awareness for your firm? Well, why? Well, you want to grow your firm because you want to be able to pay for your kids' college. That's for you, right? We have to find a bigger reason than your fear. And the other thing too is like, I don't think this is talked about enough, is that it is really vulnerable to put yourself out there from a marketing perspective. I've
Mm.
been publishing online for 10 years, and I literally every time I publish a LinkedIn post, I'm like, that's it. The whole world's finding out I'm a fraud. Here we go. Like, and also I think what's really cool about being new is you get to leverage the fact that very few people are paying attention.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
use that as an opportunity to just get your at bats. Like, oh crap, nobody's paying attention. Oh crap, nobody's paying attention. I can screw up in public, and also like sometimes people, if they say something spicy in the comments, you can just say, thanks for the feedback, smiley face. Like I use that as just like my, have like a kind of a broken record. Like if somebody just starts to get spicy, like that's okay. Like it's all right. I think publishing in public does make you a better advisor in a lot of ways because you have to think through what you believe, how you teach, how you present. But this concept of like, man, I know that I've built the skill to publish content on a platform, but man, I just don't know what's good enough. And Carl, you've talked about this, right? Like you fired yourself from deciding if it's good enough. Um, we don't get to decide. The people do. And when I do anything, I just come at this from the perspective of I'm here to help. I'm not here to make myself feel good. I'm not here to sound smart. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But my only goal is to help. So I think there's like some mind tricks that you can play on yourself
Mm.
to get over that imposter syndrome. But just know that like everybody feels it, but very few people talk about it. And the imposter syndrome isn't the problem. It's the price of admission to doing something great. It just is.
Yeah, I agree. And it doesn't go away. Like yesterday, before going on at XYPN, whatever, 600, 700 people in the room, and I was going to read a poem. And I was backstage. It's like, no, you're not really going to do that, are you? It doesn't go away. And so I've just learned, especially to recognize it in the physical feeling in my body. Like,
Yeah.
what does that feel like when I go to post the thing? Oh, and then if I can recognize that feeling in my body and I can say, oh, that's that feeling again, like I know you're here to warn me about the lion, but it turns out I'm just putting something online. Like it's not a problem. And the only person reading it is my mom and my sister. So it's really not a problem. So I just think you play little tricks on yourself. Let's just riff on some ideas for high impact, non-digital forms of marketing. Let's just riff on a few ideas. High impact,
Yes.
non-digital.
Yeah. I think you're buying into some illusion that there's a certain channel of marketing that's higher impact than others. There is not one channel that I think necessarily works better than others. They all work. What makes a channel high impact is your ability to kill this illusion that you think there's a channel that works more effectively than others. They all work. Now, there are some channels that might work a little better for you. So let me give you some specifics. If you don't like a lot of choices in marketing, for example, maybe you don't want to put out videos, but you're a little bit more technical. SEO, you could hire an SEO agency to help you write SEO optimized content. That could be a better channel for you if you're very busy and you're willing and you have patience and you have cash. Because cash, like SEO is kind of expensive and takes a little bit of a longer strategy. So SEO could be a better fit for you. But that doesn't mean that something like YouTube doesn't work. So when we think about high impact, non-digital forms of marketing, I think high impact comes in how you leverage that channel. I got like a piece of direct mail the other day, and it was like for this like AC company. It was like, hey, get this tune up for your AC unit before the winter gets here. That's their offer, right? So the awareness is here's the direct mail, here's the piece of mail they mailed to me. And they're trying to move me down the funnel, right? Call us, and let's talk about getting you this low dollar offer. So I don't think there is necessarily high impact non-digital forms of marketing. I think the better question is, it sounds like you've identified that digital is not where you want to hang out. Totally cool. Got no dog in that fight. Now the better question is, what would you find interesting that you could commit to? Like, Carl talked a little bit about like monthly dinners or breakfast club or whatever. Some people love going and doing in-person networking. I think the better question is, how do I make the way that I want to grow my firm have a high impact? Because there's not
Yeah.
one channel that has more impact than the other.
Yeah. Well, we're at time, and let's stick around just for a minute here.
Yeah,
If
totally.
anybody raises their virtual Zoom hand, we'll answer questions. If not, we'll go get back to work. Samuel, jump in.
Too good not to jump in. I mean, it's just like I shouldn't ask a question because I ask questions all the time. I'm like, they're here, so why not?
You should. Yeah.
I love to door knock. That's my kind of like my go-to. I really appreciate
Love it.
like what you like, do it, right? So how
Yeah.
would you maybe do the middle of the funnel, right? Because that's the awareness piece. I understand is my understanding, right? That's the awareness piece is knocking on somebody's door. Hey, it's Sam. Here's what I do.
Yep.
What would kind of be like your middle funnel suggestion there? I was thinking just as I'm like brainstorming here, I'm like, should I like have a business card with my Facebook page so that they can go follow me from a distance? Because
Yeah. Let me interrupt you really quick. Let me ask a couple of quick questions.
Yeah.
Who's your ideal client in a sentence?
uh couples in agriculture where one of the spouses works in town.
Couples in agriculture. Can you tell me, like, does that mean they're a farmer? Can you give me some context on what that
Yeah.
means?
Farmers or ranchers.
So are you walking up to like ranches and knocking on their front door?
I
This
mean, that's
is
not a lot of what I do, but that is my ideal client. And I've
that's
thought about driving down the road and just knocking on farmers
cool.
ranchers.
I love that you love door knocking. Like, this is so cool. Okay. So, and when you go to the door right now, like, what are you saying and like, what are you trying to get them to do?
I really am just trying to like introduce myself. And I think in our community in agriculture, or sorry, in the agriculture community, there is an appreciation for somebody who can literally just walk up to a door and knock. So
Yeah.
they remember that, right?
I think it's rad.
To me, the goal would be for them to just become aware of who I am and then have some kind of a way for them to follow me from a distance. And then at some point, maybe make a call, make an email, to sit down.
All right. So I'm going to walk up to the front door of a farmer, which is already freaking rad. This is so cool. And I'm going to introduce myself. Hey, by the way, I'm Ryan, and I really help, farmers do XYZ. I just want to share with you, hey, here's my business card. So you can still do that. And I would staple to the business card, like a one pager that just says, by the way, here's a couple things that I know you might be struggling with, like succession planning. I put together a flow chart or a checklist on how you might work through succession planning to pass the farm to the family, in a timely manner and a really smooth way that makes the transition really easy. So maybe like a checklist, a flow chart, something like that. And I would put a QR code on that one pager. So the goal is, hey, we're just going to walk up. We're just going to say hi, top of funnel awareness. Hey, I exist. I help people like you. And then, by the way, if you want to just kind of see a quick preview of like how I help people like you, check out this checklist or flow chart about how to pass the farm down to your family in a really smart, tax efficient way. The kind of conversations maybe you'd have, like, kind of think of some little simple deliverable and then just like put it on a little QR code. And by the way, even if you don't want that checklist on there, what's really cool is I have a 5-minute email I send out every Friday, which is finance tips for farmers. So if you just sign up for that quick little QR code right there, even if you don't want that, you're going to get my tips every week, every other week about finances for farmers. Cool. And by the way, if you ever have any questions, feel free to give me a call, but I just want to let you know, like, I'm here to help.
So good. Really
Yeah,
is.
that's amazing. And please don't be confused that was just about door knocking and farmers, right? Like you swap that whole thing out. So incredible. Thanks everybody. Have a fantastic whatever month, year. We'll see you in November.
Definitely.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
What was the insight that you took away? What's the one thing you took away?
Yeah, no, I'll narrow it down even further, because I spoke to my staff after, and I think we're going to drop almost everything, which is mainly digital and the Facebook, the LinkedIn, and decide whether or not we're going to pick any of it back up because we're 100% referral based now. And none of the marketing that we do, that is a lot of what was on the call, generates anything. And so I think it's not that we're spinning our wheels, but we're not doing it the right way. And if I'm not willing to focus on that, I don't know that that's the right thing to do. And I think the great part about the call was I've been gearing up for the last 3 months to maybe start some webinars or something for clients next year. and I might pass on that. So
Yeah.
as a team, we're going to talk about it next week.
So good. I would be really aggressive about it. Like just like extreme, just because you can always add it back in. Like, and then what I would think of is like, why don't we take all of that time and energy, give some of it back to ourselves? Like we don't need to spend it on something else, but let's take some of it and let's attend that old Confucius quote we throw around a lot, like attend the way. Like, what's the way for you? It's referrals. Okay, how could we be even better? You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Anything to add on that, Alex? Any action other than we're just going to stop everything and then rebuild?
Yeah, there's certainly two things. Number one, I am going to have my team watch the video replay. So we're all going to watch it here in the next week or so. But the main thing is we're just going to retool the website because the website is very corporate speak, very corporate driven in terms of wording. And we're just going to make all the changes to the website, make
Yeah.
things easier, much more simple.
That's amazing. Stephanie, what's one insight that you took away?
Mine was that I was picturing my podcast as top of funnel, and then she's later said it might be middle of funnel. But I was picturing my middle of funnel as my newsletter, my email newsletter, and there's nothing connecting my podcast to the email newsletter. Like that's where it's broken.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
listening to the podcast would not find their way. And I thought about, oh, I could do another newsletter for the podcast, but that just makes me tired thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could just point them to the one I already have. So if I,
Sure.
create that was my big like, aha.
For sure. I saw that in the comments and I wanted to mention something. So I'm glad you're here. Yeah, it's so interesting how one of the nice reasons to get people from the podcast to the newsletter is now you have permission to communicate in a more direct way. Whereas the podcast, I don't have really a way to invite you to, I mean, I do, but we've got a name now. We've got an email address. And so just something as simple as at the end, like you think of what I like to think of is the only sponsor of your podcast is your email newsletter.
Right.
Right. If you like this, you'd love, and in fact, we do a little summary. I mean, maybe you start to do a pull quote from the podcast, or maybe there's the transcription or whatever. Like you can think of ways to start linking them in together in people's minds.
Yeah.
That's really smart. Bill, how would you answer that question? What was one insight?
Yeah, so I think, more broadly is just bringing all the pieces of marketing together. You get a lot of advice from a lot of different places. I thought that this was really helpful in how everything was laid out from start to finish, and you really got a good understanding of the whole process. But if I was to focus in on something, one of the things that really stuck out to me was how to identify the problems that you solve. I hear that a lot, but not any advice on how to actually do it. And then talking in the client's language, I think is just really powerful for me. That really resonated.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's another one of these things. It's just so like after you hear it, you're like, of course. I mean, if you just scheduled 10, like take the 10 clients that you want to replicate from a marketing perspective, and you could even do this on Zoom so that the recording's easy. Like it's just kind of a default setting almost. Nobody thinks it's a big deal and they have to click OK. So they acknowledged it. And you just simply ask them some of those questions. And again, my new favorite one is like, what's the one thing that you never want us to stop doing? And then you ask, like, what are the big challenges you faced? What are the big challenges you faced before we started? People just like you, your colleagues, the dentists at the office. What do you see as the big mistakes they're making? Always ask big mistakes about other people, and then I always ask the good things. What are the good things you're doing, right? Like, and then you get this amazing language. Bill, what actual action are you going to take?
Yeah, I mean, the simple action is to just incorporate some of these questions into my meetings. I'm always very thoughtful about the questions I'm asking, but I don't think I'm great about capturing the problems. And I think just being more intentional about the questions, specifically some of the ideas you gave me, some of the ideas that came out of the talk, and then capturing, just like you said, capturing that information and having that somewhere to draw on for my different marketing opportunities.
That's so good. You know what your biggest marketing problem is? that you're doing too much. That's what Kendra Wright told me and so many other people. So it was such a massive relief because I feel like we should be doing everything. In fact, what she said was, write down everything you're doing with marketing and cross off at least half of those, Now you just watched a snippet, a teeny little segment of the October workshop that I'm referencing. My guest was Kendra Wright, and Kendra is the only person I know to call when I need help marketing. And one of the reasons I love Kendra is because she's helped me clarify, right? I used to feel repulsed by the idea of marketing or feel like I couldn't do it or it was too overwhelming or there was too many challenges, too much to keep up with. And what Kendra always reminds me is, no, let's find what's right for you. Let's do less and let's do it better. In fact, that will be the most effective. By doing less but better, you will actually have more better results with your marketing efforts. So this workshop, you have access to the entire thing if you join the Society of Advice. Now, let me just explain how you get access to this whole workshop. This is not a marketing trick. I just want to be clear about this. When you join, your first month is free. And what you have access to during that month is the prior workshop. The recording will be there. We don't have some huge archive of recordings, just to be clear. That sounded like homework, right? We have the past workshop recording is there, along with a bunch of cool extra resources for you based on that workshop. And you can attend the next live one, right? Because if your first month is free, for any given month, you'll have one past one and one live one to attend. Now, that is free when you join. Now, the reason we did that is not a marketing ploy. We spent 3 years trying to figure out how to describe for you what you get when you join the society. And we finally just gave up and said, let's just make it risk-free. If it's not for you, and there could be lots of reasons it's not for you. If it's not for you, please cancel, please cancel. And next time we see each other, high fives and hugs. It's no problem. I mean it. I just want you to come experience it. If it's for you, stay, because we love to have you. If it's not for you, there could be lots of reasons for that, and it's fine. I hope that you get incredible value that will have a huge impact on your business during that first month, whether you stay or leave, right? And I mean it. It's not just a marketing trick. All you have to do is go to thesocietyofadvice.com, thesocietyofadvice.com to join, so you can get access to this workshop with Kendra Wright to help you, for once, get clarity and feel better about this word we call marketing. So I'll see you on the inside. Cheers, my friends.